to be together and be happy. And if it doesn't end well, this shit ain't gonna end well. You know what I'm saying? You out of your mid-20s when you got 30 something.
She's gonna be like,
no,
you
I need
okay.
the mid-20.
Yeah.
That's my bracket. You expired.
Like, he didn't, there were times where he didn't like me, and not so much because of anything that I did or even so much of the fact that we were together, but because he wanted his mom and his dad. Hey guys.
Hey you all.
Ton and Mel of Random Heart Structured. We just thought we'd vlog a little bit today. We've been receiving some questions. We're gonna lean up against this car right here. We've been receiving some questions where people just really want to kind of get to know more about us. So we wanted to take this time to share.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, I'll hold it.
All right.
We want to share and answer one of the questions that we've gotten as we try to savor some of this daylight before it goes.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful day today.
It really is.
Yeah. One of the questions that we got and we thought was worth answering. Well, they're all worth answering, but one of the questions that we got and we said we would talk about today on our vlog was what our fears were. What are things that we're scared of the most?
Yeah, that's a good question.
I ain't never scared. No. And that's a great question because a lot of times people don't get to see that part.
Yeah.
Or experience that part of who we are and who others are as well. But I can start. I guess I'll start by answering that. Let me start by saying what I'm not afraid of. I'm not afraid of her or anything that we deal with as it pertains to the two of us. And I'm not really so scared of anything so much, but what I used to fear was just after becoming a couple, something happening to make it not last. You know, after going through so much and so much changing about our lives, each of us coming together, and then it was all for nothing. Had to kind of get past that, and in the beginning, every time we had an argument or a disagreement, it would pop in my mind, this is just not gonna last. Not because I didn't have faith in us, but when it's so intense, you be feeling like it be over, and that feeling is like, it's so horrendous. It's like a horrible feeling, and then you go into, oh my God, like we've been through all of this and for this not to work. And for me, it's really just in that moment. I never really fear on a whole, or have feared on a whole, that we wouldn't make it. I kind of always just believed that we would. But at those moments, you know, when you're going through something, depending on how intense it gets, I did have like slight inklings of, what if this is the end? You know, for us. And it was a dreadful feeling, because it's like we've gone through hella high water, you know what I'm saying, to be together and be happy. And if this doesn't end well, this shit ain't going anywhere. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, that would have been my only fear of just not having her in my life.
I used to feel like you was gonna get tired of me, especially like with the age gap. I felt like a lot of things, and I'm very analytical, so I can overthink something in a minute. But I used to feel like one day we were just gonna wake up and she was just gonna be like, okay, tried it, did it, done it. It's over.
Oh yeah, I'm trying to help out. My hands are all in the way. I'll let you hold it.
So yeah, I just, felt like, or that she was gonna want someone younger eventually, because I was, in my mid-20s when we got together. So,
you know, when you got out of your mid-20s, when you got 30-some,
she was gonna be like,
no,
you
I need
okay?
the mid-20.
Yeah,
that's my bracket. You've expired.
Right, that part. Like, you too old. So, that was one of my fears, and I felt like with her being the one that, have kids, well, biologically had the kids, that in our parenting methods and things like that, because initially we kind of clashed a little bit. I was more lenient in things that she wasn't, and she was more lenient in things that I wasn't. We did get that together.
Yeah, we had to grab a balance on that.
Yeah, but I felt like, we were going to end because of the kids, also because we went through such an adjustment with our oldest kid that just, in getting used to there not being a mom and a dad, but two moms, that I felt like, how some parents be like, well, if you can't get along with my kids, or if my kids don't like you or whatever, my kids come first. I felt like we weren't gonna make it because she was gonna put her son first. The fact, I felt like there were times where he didn't like me, and not so much because of anything that I did, or even so much of the fact that we were together, but because he wanted his mom and his dad, and I was young, a lot younger. I was 15 years younger than I am now, so my mindset wasn't where it is now, so my processing was a bit immature, and kind of premature, because I've, like, when we would get into it and stuff like that about any given thing, I would feel like, well, this is not gonna last anyway, so it would always be me that was like, well, why don't we just break up then? We this ain't working, so why don't we just, I'm just gonna go my own way, or why are you with me? I was always trying to run from it, because I felt like it wasn't gonna have the longevity that we have.
And sometimes it would be like, now that we can look back, it would be like stuff that wasn't so big, and I would be like, that's not something you break up over. You just kind of have an argument and work it out and get over it. And so I had to also make adjustments, because I had to, in the beginning, the age factor did not factor, but as you come upon situations and you realize that the way that you process is different, the way you understand, because
it didn't factor for her.
Well, it never really factored for me, because honestly, I knew
what you was getting yourself into.
No, I wasn't gonna say that, but what I was gonna say was, when I realized that she was younger, because in the beginning I didn't know that she was so much younger, because she, didn't come off as some real immature kind of person, and she was married, so she had some life experience. So I didn't realize she was so much younger. But when I did, I had already started getting to know her, and the age didn't really make a difference, because she wasn't some silly broad. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
She wasn't doing nothing that would have me make such a grand distinction between myself and her. But what happened in our process of growing and growing together as a couple, when situations came up, that's when you could tell sometimes the difference is in points of view, or the reasons behind certain actions and things that kind of were like, well, why that? And in her too, she probably was like, well, why are you doing that? And we had to realize that because of our age difference, I may have experienced some things already that she hadn't, number one. And also, the timing in which we were brought up was different. So some of the processes and the reasons behind and the understandings that we had, of course, would be different. So we kind of had to take a look at that and actually sit with that. And I think what we began to do is just kind of communicate a little better.
We did. It took a while though,
Yeah.
because unlike her, where the age was never a factor for her, it was for me, because like she said, she had more experience than I did, and she was more mature in a lot of areas that I was still growing in. And although I didn't act my age or present myself as my age, I was still
her age.
Not her age.
She still had things to learn and experience.
So my fear, or the age gap factor would come in for me when we would get into it and stuff like that, and she would verbally or vocally make it known that the way I was processing something was being immature, and I felt like that was kind of motherly and stuff like that, and I would feel like I wasn't going to be good enough for her. I didn't know I had someone who was willing to teach me and grow with me and sync with me and had the patience for me to sync with them and all of that. I was scared, and I was scared, actually. Let's take it back some. I was scared from the beginning of her even showing any interest in me, because once I found out how old she was, I was like, what she want with me?
Yeah, and she would ask me that, and I wouldn't be thinking about the age factor. So when she would ask me, I'd be like, huh?
Yeah, like, because I ain't gonna lie.
You're not here. You don't see what we're experiencing together.
First of all, I've never dated anyone in her age bracket, and I never dated anyone that was that much older than me. So I was like, maybe this is a sexual thing. Maybe she's infatuated to some degree or measure with me. Like, I would just be trying to process, like, what would somebody, that much older than me want with me?
Yeah,
because
she didn't understand it. I saw more than that. Like, my mind was so, like, not on the fact that she was younger, because I saw the things in her that were mature. I don't want you guys to get the idea that she just wasn't mature. That's not what it is. It's just certain things you have to come into. When I was in my 20s, I may have thought about some things similar to her, or maybe in a different way, but not as I would in my 30s. You know what I'm saying? So I never really separated like that, but she did. And I'd be like, what the world? What you talking about? Like, that don't have nothing to do seriously with anything.
And for me, it had everything to do with everything.
Yeah.
I was like, what do you mean? It was just crazy. But I didn't think we were gonna last. I really didn't.
But what did I tell you?
Wanted to, but
what did I always tell you? What did I tell you?
You're never going anywhere.
Right, it's forever. Like,
Yeah.
it's not a place.
We made that, no, even before we actually made it official to be in a relationship, we actually, you know, I won't go into detail with what we did, but what would you call that?
We made a pact.
That we would
always be there for
always
each other and
be
never
together, never
leave
leave each other, and we would always get through anything. And I guess you could say we kind of had a prevision for what we wanted with one another due to our bond and our connection. And I think my biggest thing was just never having that type of bond and connection with anybody and fearing losing it. Like, you don't never want to lose nothing like that.
Yeah, you always, even if you thought it wasn't going to work or whatever, you would still want to have a connection. I feel like a gnat is trying to get in my body. A connection with that person when you have something as special as we did and we do. So, that sort of thing. But I think at the end of it all, I think our major fear was the same thing, that we just wouldn't make it.
Yeah, because God knows I was trying to end that thing. I was
every day I was like, oh my God, can we get through the day without this coming up?
And I ain't gonna sit here and lie. Sometimes she was like, if that's what you want to do, Tyne, go ahead and go.
Yeah.
You know, and then I was like, you don't care. You don't even care. You don't want to fight for me. You don't want to fight for us. She would be like, fight for what? Like there's nothing to fight for.
We can just be together.
Like, yeah, just be. Like, what are you talking
fight
about? And I could not fathom any understanding for what she was trying to get me to understand. So it took a minute. It did. It took a minute.
But it sucked.
But that's just us letting you guys in a little bit more on us and let y'all know this thing wasn't always easy.
Nope.
We had to work at it.
Yep.
You know, consciously work at it. There were some things that was just perfect. There were a lot of things that were actually perfect.
Most things were perfect, but it was just when those things did come up, they seemed so
intense,
big,
so big.
And I think it's because we just didn't want our peace disrupted. Like we went through so much unrest with other things outside of us. Just because we were together, that when we were together, we wanted it to be absolutely perfect. And I think that's kind of how we understand now what perfection really is for us. Not gonna say for you, but for us, we kind of understand that perfection is riddled with imperfections. You know, it's about the process, it's about the growth for
and
us,
the commitment to stick it out and figure out what makes it perfect. And that's what we did. So
for us, it's growth oriented, it's progress oriented. It's not a state of we finally made it.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying?
Right.
I think a lot of people misunderstand that when we talk about it, but at any rate, that's our perfection. You know, everybody has their own. Some are more literal than others, but that's how we see it. We had the perfect setup, and we just, apart from everybody else not understanding, or maybe some people not wanting it to be, we wanted to make sure that we didn't hinder ourselves. So when we had arguments and disagreements, it kind of scared us so much until it made it probably a lot more intense than it had to be, you know. But we just didn't want to be jacked up, you know what I'm saying?
So that's us, guys.
That's us, y'all.
Expect many more vlogs from us. This is our very first one.
And don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel, Random Hearts Structured. I'm proud of myself because I said YouTube channel and not YouTube page. I'm getting better at this, y'all.
Make sure you guys follow our social medias. Our Instagram is Random Heart Structured, no spaces. Our Facebook page, like she said, is Random Heart Structure, and our Facebook group
is Random Culture. And also, y'all, remember to hit your post notification button so that you can actually get our videos, whether they be vlog challenges or pranks, when they come out, because we want you guys
not to miss anything.
Not to miss one thing.
Make sure that you hit that all button after you select the bell, so that you will definitely be notified. All right, guys. We shall see you in the next video.
Next time. Bye, guys.
Bye, y'all.